Welcome to Wednesday night. We got an awesome-ass podcast coming up. They're going to talk Stephen Wright and Cheap Trick. So here we go with Dustin's Vinyl and your host, Dustin Chafin!
Oh, shit. Yeah, Anthony. Get it, baby. Welcome to the show. Yeah. Woo!
Okay. It's a little sloppier than I thought.
That's all right.
Okay, that's a little something. Oh.
No, it's nice. And when you can't play guitar, it just looks and sounds amazing. You know what I mean? That's the best part. When it's somebody like me who can't play guitar at all, like I could listen to whoever and be like, "That's a great solo," but when it comes to playing, I can't play anything. It's kind of like it's That's how it is with music. That's why even like with this show, I want us to not be so critical because none of us can play but you. You know, like
yeah, but you guys
we have to be a little careful with like, not that guy, the drums. Like, yeah, but I always get mad when somebody critiques comedy and they can't do comedy, you know?
Oh, that's
like,
true.
It's always a weird thing.
You know, a lot of times I learn this stuff the day of the show. I learn how to play some of these riffs. So.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so you can make fun of it.
This whole show is about like day of. I tried to do a documentary like literally 15 minutes ago. Poor Adam, our producer tech guy was like, hey, I was like, hey, you want to do some footage? Just let me know. And then I sent it like literally like 10 minutes before the show started. It's like, really? You can't just work magic? What's wrong with you? So it's good to be here. You know, it's kind of one of these shows where I'm always like, should we? And then when I see you guys, I'm like, okay, it's fun. I like you guys.
Yeah,
we get to talk music. We get to do this stuff. I was on the road. I had a good time. I was with Nate Bargatze, who's probably the hottest comic in the country right now. And we were in Naples, Florida. It was funny. The whole thing was just like, I was so excited to be working with him again. We're doing some other tours together, and I was really excited. And he's a big golfer, so I took a golf lesson, from the big PGA guy, and I was like, it only takes an hour to learn golf, right? Like I'll just take this. I'll take one lesson, and I'll be perfect. And believe it or not, I was pretty good though. I wasn't bad because I did okay. It's like the thing is I shot it straight, which is key. And I only killed probably 2 squirrels, like I went a little left, a little right. There's a moment where I was kind of man versus wild. I was just like an Easter egg hunt looking for my, but it was good. I did all right. And, I don't know. It was fun. And the shows are fun and his crowds are great. I had to be clean, which I don't know, it's, watching him, you're like, why, or we should all be clean. Like, it's just the fact that anybody wouldn't be clean. Cause it's, the audience is they just ate him up and he was great. And I was before him, but I kept going, I'm not the wholesome guy. He's coming on next. I had to like, let him know, but I had this one moment that was really funny on stage. So I do this joke where I talk about, kind of emotional support animals, where I think it's ridiculous. Just let them pee in the yard, whatever. Like, they shouldn't have to worry about your anxiety every time you fly JetBlue, that kind of thing. And I do this thing where there's a guy in Florida who has emotional support alligator. And I was just like, it's like, can you imagine that? We have to let this guy on the plane, you lose your arm. Like, what happened? I was flying Spirit Airlines and this guy next to me had a dinosaur and now I'm a pirate. Like, this whole thing, right? I have a hook. I said, this thing a hook, right? And so everybody laughs, kind of. The left side's not really laughing, but most of the crowd's laughing. And so then I go to bring up Nate, and I'm like, all right, everybody, are you ready for Nate Bargatze? And like, everybody's clapping except this one guy. I'm like, dude, start clapping, man. Why are you the only guy not clapping? And then he lifts up his arm, and he has a hook. He was like, he had this hook. And I was like, oh, my God. I go, what are the odds that I do a joke about a guy with a hook? And then when the one guy not clapping, I give him shit, and he has a hook. And get this, the name of the club is Off the Hook Comedy Club. And then I felt so bad that I sent him a shot, but to keep the joke going, I made sure it was Captain Morgan. You know what I mean? Like, it was the wildest thing. And I was just like, it was so funny. And I actually, he was cool. He, whatever. But it was just like, when you have a hook, life can be tough. So you laugh at yourself. Yeah. But it was, it was one of those weird moments where like I don't know if you ever had moments where like, you know, like I did little people jokes one time, and then I realized there was like a whole group of little people. I didn't realize it till I'm halfway in, and you know, that kind of thing. They're just on the table yelling at me.
Yeah.
But you know, have you had moments where it just went weird while you were on stage? Like you just like said the wrong thing, and like somebody was in the crowd or something. What happened?
There's one that you know, but I'll tell you the one that you haven't heard. When I was on tour. So I was headlining this show at some bar or something in Wisconsin, and my friend was hosting and featuring, you know, so he was doing like 30 or 40 minutes or whatever, and so I didn't watch his set because I've seen him every night for a year. So I was outside, and I came in just to do my set, and I like within the first 2 or 3 minutes, I started doing crowd work. This one guy was laughing more than everybody else. And I was like, yeah, I like this guy. And everybody got really weird. I was like, yeah, this guy's the man. And I found out that my friend was doing crowd work on him, and he like proclaimed that he was a Nazi.
Oh, okay.
And so he like did the salute and everything but I missed it. So the first thing I do is I come in and I'm like, yeah, I like this guy. He's the best. And everyone is like, oh boy.
So it's amazing that the comedy is such a horrible art form that the club won't even remove a Nazi. You know what I mean? Like they won't even remove the one person.
Yeah, he still had to buy some drinks.
Yeah.
like
a waitress literally came up to him at some point and was like, would you like another round? Like, you know, like they didn't, like that's how horrible comedy is. Like nobody's throwing him out. Thank God fucking Dan Natterman wasn't on that show. That's a Jewish joke. Nobody got it. Anyway.
Okay.
Catch up, Anthony.
I know who he is, but I didn't know the reference.
Right. Jewish comic, whatever.
So that wasn't great.
What was the other one? All right.
The other one, remember? So you were there for this. It was at Greenwich, right. And that
place sucks without me. I'll tell you. Go ahead.
It does. Everyone was doing crowd work on. I don't know why everyone thought that this adult woman was a 12-year-old boy.
I remember that.
Everyone thought, and I did some crowd work, and I was talking to I thought it was a little boy, and I was like, "Are you like an adult, or do you have like that weird disease where you're?"
Oh God, that's. What if she had? What if she is a boy with the disease? That's hilarious.
She was so upset. I don't think I was the one that sent her off the edge, but
I tried to like appease the situation. I sent her a Shirley Temple because I wanted her to feel okay.
But I felt terrible. I don't even remember if we got to talk to her after.
Yeah, comedy is a funny thing, and we'll bring Jeff into this later. But it's like, you know, it's such a funny, like, you never know what kind of weird moments. A positive weird moment was, do you remember that guy? This is really funny. There was a guy that came in who just got a divorce from his wife. And he was on stage. He was in the front row. We were on stage, and he was throwing hundreds at all the comics. And we were like, what are you doing? And he was just, I mean, we could make like, some of us made like $400 or $500 off this guy. Like he had like thousands of bucks on him, and he was just throwing hundreds. And he was just like, yeah, because I just got a divorce, and I would rather you guys have my money than her have all my money. So he was just throwing all the money at the comics. And I think when you got up, he had ran out. And I think there was a couple of comics.
Yeah, I remember.
that got up late, and there was like no money left.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. I think because some comics got up and there was no money left. So today we're excited to talk, you know, it's comedy month, and we're doing, you know, comedians. We have a great comedian coming up, Stephen Wright, that we'll be talking about, like he's coming up, but his album, and we'll be talking about I Have a Funny. But before that, and speaking of no respect, you know, I think it's very good to bring up, you know, this album, which is Rodney Dangerfield's I Don't Get No Respect, which is a great album recorded, I believe at Dangerfield's in New York City, his comedy club. And Stephen Wright's a big one-liner guy, and so also I think in the same breath, you know, is one of the best one-liner guys of all time is Rodney Dangerfield. And I have the pleasure of working on a project with this guy, so I've been kind of going down this wormhole of, you know, kind of studying and learning all the craft that you know, he he, put into comedy and like all the work that he did to really get those jokes right. And just a funny, just everyday man kind of guy that was just like, he felt ugly. He felt like he struck out with women. He felt like he had the worst parents. He had the day, hey, and this whole thing, it's just the no respect thing. I think a lot of people kind of related to in so many ways. And, he's always, and he just did so many cool things, and this was such a huge influence. And also just a guy that kind of like the comeback kid, it was just like basically gave up showbiz, didn't know what he was going to do. He was selling aluminum siding and kind of was half in showbiz and half out. And it was funny. Like he was still doing like the Ed Sullivan show and selling aluminum siding. He had one moment where he did the Ed Sullivan show, and then he went to his neighborhoods in Long Island to sell aluminum siding. And, he was on that night, and he asked one of the guys, he knocked on the door, and the guy was like, he's like, hey, you want to, the aluminum siding? And the guy said, no, I'm not interested. He's like, well, can I watch TV for a few minutes? And the guy's like, what? He goes, yeah, I'm on Ed Sullivan tonight. And so he sat on his couch and watched himself. And then I think he made the sale. The guy was like, all right, dude, you've been on TV. Let's do the whole thing. But
that's a good salesman right there.
Yeah, right. So this is a really cool album. What's cool about this album, it's not quick. It's actually, it's kind of has a beatnik rhythm to it. And it's Rodney, and it's the get no respect stuff, but it's before he's kind of tightened it, and before he's kind of made it this kind of it's more caricature-y later on in the 80s and stuff, but this is a little before that. And you just see the evolution. I always like watching the evolution of things and listening to, something that, goes from one to the next. But so it's a little more kind of like personal even. It's like those kind of one-liners, but you feel like, he's like kind of conversational as opposed to being shticky. But anyway, the whole thing is great. Really cool. That is my comedy. And my live album today is Here I Am, Rock Me Like a Hurricane. The Scorpions. The little Scorpions?
I don't know.
I should have told you what I was pulling today. So
yeah, I could have learned some of those riffs.
I'm so bad. Yeah, like Adam. Like, why'd you get that documentary out in 4 minutes? This, there you go.
It's something like that. But, we don't need the rights to it.
Exactly. This is a cool album. It's this was an amazing band, live band. There's that ring light. I can't fight the ring light.
That's a live one?
Yeah, this is a live one. This is Scorpions Worldwide Live. It's like all their like world tours and stuff. And this is they kind of like put this one together. Or is this one? This might be one. The thing is, I don't know what it is. Fuck it. I'm gonna say Germany. Anyway,
I believe it.
We'll let Adam find out where that album was recorded. I just grabbed it about 3 minutes ago, but it's a great album. I love, I have one funny Scorpion joke that I'll bring in the guys is, my brother, I think I might have told this before, but I don't care. My brother would always I always had better taste than my middle brother. My oldest brother had great taste. Like he brought me to cool concerts when I was a kid, but my middle brother didn't know anything about music. And so he would always steal my music stuff from me. And he would get me in trouble for listening to something that was out of my age range or whatever. Like I shouldn't be listening to it. And so he would just tell my mom, like, Dustin should be listening to Prince, that little red Corvette's about his dick, stuff like that.
And then he would take your record?
Yeah. And then my mom would be like, okay, you can have the record. I'm like, I bought that with my lawnmower money. And then he would just take my stuff. And the Scorpions was a funny one because give her inches and feed her well. My brother had explained to my mother, that I shouldn't be listening to that particular part of Hurricane. Anyway, funny stuff.
It's so awkward to have to explain that to your mom just so you could steal the record from your little brother.
You haven't met my brher. He's the one that was in prison for 6 years. So, that's the beginning where, so we're going to bring in the show and here we go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Anthony, play it away. Over to Dustin Final, everybody. Bringing in the hottest co-host in town, Mr. Popular. I forgot your name. Jeffrey Paul and Adam Holtz. Yeah.
All right.
That's how long I've been away. I forgot people's names. I was like, who's that guy?
There we go.
There he is. Nice.
All right.
Jeez.
We'll surrender.
A little bit.
Little cheapy trick.
Yeah. You know what I like about that Scorpions live album is they made that after they had just kind of like been like on this run of like big hits in the 80s. Okay. But they included back to back Another Piece of Meat and The Zoo, which were a little bit older. Right before they kind of like, hit big with Rock You Like a Hurricane. And those were still two great songs. I'm glad that they put that on the album. I think the newest song that shined on the album was Still Loving You, which is kind of like a slower, ballady song. And Klaus Meine, who's the singer, is just like hits it out of the park. It's like a great version of that.
Yeah, great voice, that guy, man.
Yeah. They're supposed to be actually coming back and touring.
They're alive? Wow.
Yeah, they're supposed to be touring in either this year or next year.
Wait, I thought one of those guys died, like the singer or somebody.
No. It's still that's still the band. That's still the band.
I'm on the fence. You're not, Jeffrey, because I know you see all these guys. Like, you have no problem. I have a problem. We've kind of talked about it before, but I kind of just don't want to see guys struggling on stage.
He don't struggle. No, he does not. It is.
Well,
this
Guns
is
N'
not,
Roses does. I mean, Axl's like barely getting through it. I don't want to see AC/DC again. I think that would be rough.
Well, Brian Johnson could still sing. This isn't a case of like David Lee Roth kind of like pantomiming through the songs.
Okay.
I mean, Klaus Meine could still sing.
But there's some guys, I'm sure, that, did you agree
Vince
with me?
Neil.
Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't he keep canceling all his
dates? I think there's some guys
how they're pulling that off next year.
You know what I mean? Like,
you
know what I'm saying, Jeffrey? It's just like, there's some guys you're just like,
You don't want to feel bad for them while you're paid $200 or whatever it is to see one of those big acts, and then
that's how people felt when they saw me when I was drunk before I just I would just I'd be like I get it, baby.
I remember the most glaring example of a singer just way past his prime when I saw him was Meatloaf. I mean, this was a guy who was known for having great pipes, could sing, and then like he just was struggled with everything. It was just so embarrassing. Yeah, I guess like you don't want to see that.
Yeah, it's rough. So, all right, Anthony. So you're gonna take it away today. So we're gonna let you bring in the featured stand-up comedy album, because I felt like this is your guy. So, and I want you all to feel like you got a piece of the show. And we're a big family here. Take it away, Anthony, and then we'll all jump in. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And feel free to jump in whenever. I don't have the whole thing really prepared, but
none of us do. It's a hard one when it's comedy. Comedy's harder because it's like, it's specific, it's jokes. It's not like music where everybody can kind of jump in and say a lot of things. And there's not as much of a story about the recording process. It's just a sub show. It was recorded, and there it is. Tell us how you feel about them and go. You got it.
We're talking about Stephen Wright, I Have a Pony. So Stephen Wright started stand-up probably like around 1979 or so. And I believe it was in 1982, a producer for The Tonight Show saw him performing at a Chinese restaurant.
Wow.
And so then he went and he did The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, which was a bigger deal than doing The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, I believe, at the time. So he did The Tonight Show, and he did so well that I believe Johnny Carson asked him to come back the following week, which is a big deal. So that's 1982, and then in 1985, this album comes out on Warner Brothers Records. I Have a Pony, and it was nominated for a Grammy.
Oh, awesome!
And I think that the album was so popular that he couldn't do that material live anymore. So that is why he didn't do another album until 2005.
Oh my God!
I Still Have a Pony.
I Still Have a Pony. That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, Stephen Wright. That was. Stephen Wright's probably he's one of my biggest comedy influences. Him and Mitch Hedberg and Zach Galifianakis and those kind of guys doing the one-liners. And so this album has some of my favorite one-liners of all time. Let me see this one. I got these I have prepared because I wanted to make sure we talked about them.
Nice. You're doing
I
great.
went to a restaurant that serves breakfast at any time, so I ordered French toast during the Renaissance.
How funny is that joke? It's like it's so layered and beautiful, that joke. Like it's one of the best jokes on the album.
It's
Didn't
perfect.
they use that joke in Swingers?
Probably.
Did they? I
Yeah,
saw Swingers.
People
It's
rip
been a
off
while.
comics. Yeah, people rip off comics all the time. Yeah.
Who says it? Who says the joke?
Jon Favreau, who's supposed to be a comic in the movie, he orders breakfast, but he says he orders it. You don't say. I think he says, "I'll have breakfast during the Enlightenment."
What a hack!
And then he's regretting it because I should have said Renaissance.
What a hack! What a
That's
hack!
weird. Yeah, that sucks.
Jeez. Let's get that on the internet. Let's cancel Jon Favreau. He's not doing much. That wouldn't be much of a takedown.
He directed those Iron Man movies.
Dude, he's doing everything.
Yeah, the Mandalorian.
Mandalorian. Yeah, obviously, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Another great one. I bought some powdered water, but I don't know what to add.
Classic.
Another great joke.
Brilliant. Like, yeah, it's just like, sometimes it's funny because, working with Nate this weekend, it was like, he's a guy, where it's like Jeffrey does this, where it's like guys that talk about their life, they talk about their wife, they talk about their kids, they talk about, things that are happening. And a guy, like this is just taking the craft in another direction and kind of like making it abstract and making it kind of surreal and different. And people don't do that as much anymore. So it's like, but when I was listening to it today, I was just like, yeah, man, it's like, I miss this. I miss this rhythm of like a structured joke. I mean, I love people telling their stories and everything, and I'm trying to be better at that, but I don't know. There's just something great about just bam, bam, and then you laugh, and then it's just right there. You don't have to think. You don't have to, that long. It's just like once you get it, then boom, you're right there.
Do you think it's harder to write like that? Because when you listen to this album, man, it seemed like a ton of writing and like a lot of like one-liners and working it out. It had to be like a real like chore.
Well, it's just, I guess it's kind of like somebody being naturally good at guitar. It's just like, I'm sure his brain is just wired that way. You know what I mean? Like I think for some people, some of us it is. I kind of I learned how to do comedy off of this album. This is the album that taught me how to write jokes. Kinnison taught me how to kind of just be outrageous, and Stephen Wright taught me how to structure a joke. And this album I listened to over and over and over. When I first started comedy, this is the album that I was just like, it was perfection in his misdirects and his absurdity. And it taught me how to kind of, just use words, not, language and things like, we talk, sometimes they're too wordy and stuff. And like, he's just, the economy of words in his jokes are just phenomenal. But it can be definitely hard. I mean, Anthony writes these kind of jokes. It's like, it's just, it takes a lot of thought, process. I mean, how do you feel about it? Why don't you answer that, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, this is also, this album, every time I listen to it, it makes me want to write new jokes and write them better. But it can be difficult because you have an idea, and it only lasts 5 seconds.
Right.
And then, you can kind of string a bunch of jokes together that are on the same topic. And he does that a little bit also. I think he probably does it more on the second album that was in 2005. But most of the time you have an idea and then it's over really quick and then you need another idea. So it can be hard, when you're doing, if you're trying to have new material all the time, it's hard to fill enough, like what, you're doing 15 minutes usually on a showcase. If you want to have a new 15 minutes every couple of weeks, you got to be writing every single day. Just tons of stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's what Twitter's for.
Yeah. Now.
Yeah. But Twitter's perfect for it.
Yeah. You just cut and paste all your Twitter, your tweets.
That's what I've been doing.
Like, me too. There's a set list. Boom.
I used to save a lot of stuff, but the last year and a half, it's like, what am I saving it for?
Well, Stephen Wright is fascinating on so many levels. And, the story that I heard from several people is, that persona is obviously a natural one. I've met him in person. He's as weird as he is on stage. stage. But there's definitely like he was a little, like he had this kind of this energy to do comedy, but it was obviously very low energy, and he was a little kind of shy to the delivery, and it all kind of started from this anxiety of kind of being on stage and having a bit of stage fright. And so it was just like, and then this kind of muffled, kind of uncomfortable kind of guy, deadpan-y or whatever, was a natural instinct to kind of just not really wanting to be in the spotlight, but still, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And so I think it just kind of evolved into this thing. So when he first started telling jokes, it always kind of came out that way. And then it just became this thing where, because most comics are so animated and they're so over the top, and they're, the Steve Martin and hey, wild and crazy. And, it's just like, everybody is just like, kind of this explosion of comedy. So Rob and like, during this time, Richard Pryor just bleeding his soul on stage, and, all these things happening, when then this guy just gets up and it's just the opposite of that energy. And it's just like, you're drawn in because of this. You've never seen this delivery before. You've seen pauses from Jack Benny. You've seen deadpan from certain kinds of comedy, but he was able to kind of like, I don't know, just kind of this kind of just style that just kind of drew you in because you just weren't used to it. And then the absurdity of how good the jokes were. And he always got you. Like, you think like, it's funny, we were talking about Anthony Jeselnik the other day, and he's a great comic, but eventually during the set, you kind of figure out kind of where he's going to go. And with Stephen Wright, it's like, it just gets you every time. Even if you kind of get like the water joke or whatever, like, it's just, I don't know. It's just such a perfect joke teller. Yeah.
And you can't figure out where he's going to go because, like, for people like Anthony Jeselnik, he's kind of locked into this edgy kind of, very dark sort of. So everything is going to go that way. So you get trained during the set to be like, oh, it's going to, it's going to be dead babies. It's going to be whatever, AIDS or something. He's great.
I love him. I just think, but it's like, I feel like this is, I don't know, Stephen just has such an exceptional, I just feel this is the masterpiece. Anywhere. I feel this album is comedy perfection. And when it comes to writing jokes, when it comes to set up punch type style jokes, it's the best ever, in my opinion, as far as this style of comedy.
Yeah, he's originally from Boston, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when he was discovered, wasn't there like a famous Chinese restaurant where Burr and a lot of those guys started, and they would do shows?
It was called was it Ding
Ho or something? Ding Ho.
Yeah. Is that where he was discovered?
Yeah. That's where the producer for the Tonight Show saw him.
I loved him growing up. I thought he was very, very original. He was really like the anti Dice Clay, like Dustin was saying. Dice was this over the top personality. He was very, very understated, exactly like that. But I thought his jokes were really, really super clever. Remember, he had a joke where he's like, he just, his delivery was, I walked my dog from New York to Florida. Now he's done forever.
That's a great one. But yeah, his delivery.
It's a small world. I wouldn't want to paint it.
Right. Oh, yeah.
That's what from this album. Yeah.
You can't have everything. Where would you put it?
Yep. These are like great jokes. Like, how many years ago was this written, and they still really would hold up today?
Yeah, they really do. It's just such a great album. I really loved it. Just like anybody have a favorite Stephen Wright joke out in Twitch land?
Let's see.
Let us know if you have any favorite Stephen Wright jokes. And Adam, how do you feel about this album?
Stephen
Wright.
So growing up, Stephen Wright was one of my favorites. Pretty much it was him, Carlin, and then Gary Shandling. Also, I think were three of my favorites growing up. And it's been years since I listened to Stephen Wright. And when you were talking about the album that we were going to do it this week, I put it on yesterday, and I've just had it on repeat in the past 2 days, and it just takes me back. I remember listening to I think it was his 91 special. It was Wicker Chairs, the one that he had on HBO, which had one of my favorites, which was if you shoot at mimes, should you use a silencer?
I mean, come on, man. That's a perfect joke. Come on, man. You don't get better than that.
And on this one, the one that, I mean, each time I listen to it, there's always, because there's just so many one-liners, so many non sequiturs, and you know, each time there's a different favorite. I really liked where he's talking about the rare photos he has, and he has the one of Houdini locking his keys in the car, and the other one of Norman Rockwell beating a child.
That's so edgy. It's great. Yeah. That's probably the edgiest thing on the album. Yeah, you're like, whoa, it's so funny. but that's the difference between, like, last time we listened to Kennison, and then we all, and there's definitely a beautiful thing about what he does. But listening to it, 30 years later or 20 years later is, it's rough. But for this, there isn't any sort of like time lapse. You feel like it's fine. You're not offended by anything he's saying, or, it's just, it's a lot easier to listen to than some of the Kennison stuff. Just because of, I don't know, it's just it's more family friendly.
I think it's clean, right? I don't think he
pretty clean.
Curses at all.
It's clean. It's definitely clean.
I think
on Rachel, I thought he cursed on Rachel, but I'm not.
Oh, he did?
I'm not 100% sure though. I thought there might have been one in there, but it was. I mean, predominantly it was clean.
Yeah. What would you say, Jack?
I like. Adam has the video on in the back, and like I remember watching him, because he would be like deadpan and like he wouldn't react, but then every now and then like he'd crack a smile or make himself laugh. I liked it. I thought that was very like real and very kind of like human. Like he was able to break the character every now and then, which I thought was kind of cool and authentic.
Yeah, but he is like that, and like he talks really low, and he's weird and like standoffish. So I think he's it's not like he's like that, and then like when he's off stage, he's like, "Hey guys, like what's going on? Party over here!" Woo!
Great, that would be his personality. He has an arrow through his head.
He's the lampshade guy. Yeah, he's not. He's definitely, that's very. It's definitely a deadpan character out of himself a little bit, but for the most part, I noticed he was like that. Felt he, didn't feel like he was faking much of it. But he's great. Any Twitchers? Anybody? Twitcher comments?
Let's see.
We got anybody out there? Bueller.
Let's see. Your mom's arch enemy says he is great, but I can't remember any jokes. It's been so long. Yeah. And that was the same. I hadn't listened to him in so long, but as soon as I started listening to the album, when I put on the special from '91, it just comes right back to you.
And do you have any more jokes?
Yeah.
There was.
Brings us to the 80s.
Yeah.
What's the other one? I broke a mirror in my house. I'm supposed to get 7 years bad luck, but my lawyer thinks he can get me 5. That's a good.
What else you got? Give me some more.
I hate when my foot falls asleep during the day because that means it's going to be up all night.
Anthony, did you do something? Did you play him or something at a Halloween show or like a?
I did, yeah. Stick or treat at the Knitting Factory in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that was a big deal. Yeah, a lot of the comics would do like other comics.
Yeah. So I dressed up like Stephen Wright. I had this. It's funny because I got a curly hair, like a curly short hair wig, but then also a bald wig. And so I had to figure out how to do.
You had to put both. It together.
And I wasn't great at the accent, and I haven't tried to do it since. But
his voice, you had a little hard time with it.
Yeah, just because I'm not. The Boston accent is a little hard. His is kind of subtle, but I wanted to get it.
You gotta get that. You just gotta like smoke.
Yeah, you just gotta do the vocal fry. But
spot remover on my dog.
Now he's gone. But you had to. Well, I guess you didn't have to, but you could write jokes in the style of. So I wrote a joke for that show specifically to be a Stephen Wright joke, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep doing it in my act. And it was what was the joke? I met oh man, I forget what the joke was now.
Right. Sucks to get old. All right. Well, Stephen Wright, guys, get you some Stephen Wright. I Have a Pony is phenomenal. The follow-up album is great as well. All his stuff is great. He did one a little later, like in 2012, that wasn't bad either. That was his third special. I forget.
He did a third special?
Yeah, there's a third one where it's like it's definitely weird because it's it's way later, but it was good. He has like a DVD special. Which one? When was that? When was the third one? The last one?
2006. Was that the?
Okay,
that was
2006. That's
the
when
one
the leaves
with
blow away.
Yeah.
The
That's
audio
it. 2006
of that is I Still Have a Pony.
Oh, it is.
The audio is that.
I thought it was
album.
a different one. Okay, so he only has 2 albums.
2 albums, yeah.
I only have 2 albums, so I feel good about myself.
I put out 2 albums this year.
Shut up.
Oh, I remember the joke. That I once met a guy that looked so much like me that after hanging out with him for a while, I couldn't remember which one of us I was anymore. So I started asking both of us questions that only I would know the answer to. Turns out I was the other guy.
Nice.
There you go.
All right,
I wrote
very
that
cool.
We didn't talk about how he was the voice of the radio DJ in Reservoir Dogs.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's right. He's also a phenomenal filmmaker. Like he did his short film won Academy Award.
It's
Like,
great. It's
Wow.
great.
Like he's very talented guy. Just definitely.
I wish he had done more of that.
Yeah, he's me too. I mean, he was Louis C.K.'s last sitcom. I believe he had a big part on it.
Oh
It was
yeah,
great when he was at Caroline's.
Was he?
Yeah, he was by himself at Caroline's. He played a completely weird version of himself.
This was actually they did another show where Louis did another type of scripted show.
Okay, this was on
yeah,
Louis.
it's like
Yeah. Well, this is
I
like
think it was
another show, but Steve Buscemi was in it, and it was like some sort of thing they tried to do right before all the mayhem happened. I'm just like a crazy day with my equipment. All right, Jeff, break us in. What are we doing?
All right. So what we're going to talk about today was, I think, probably like the second of the granddaddy of all live albums. And this is Cheap Trick Live at Budokan, which came out in 1978 in Japan and 1979 in the United States. And this is the album that made Cheap Trick famous, and Cheap Trick made the Budokan famous. And what the Budokan was, it was basically a series of concerts in Japan. And Bob Dylan recorded one there as well. Basically, the classic album that we know, that we listen to, that we're reviewing today, is a 10-song album. That's the one that opens with Hello There, Come On, Come On, Look Out, Big Eyes, Need Your Love, Ain't That a Shame, I Want You to Want Me, Surrender, Good Night Now, Clock Strikes 10. Right, that's the album that was released, but that's only 10 songs of a 22-song set that was originally a live broadcast over in Japan. It was a live radio broadcast. The album is actually taken from that broadcast. 98% of this album, according to Bunny Carlos, the drummer, is real. Very little studio overdubs. It's truly a live album. It's a real representation of who the band was at that moment in time, which is kind of like an interesting thing as well, because Cheap Trick before Live at Budokan had released 3 albums, and they were just a hardworking band, but they were not successful. They had no radio hits in the United States. They were bigger in Japan, and they were in the hole for about $1 million. And now this was a band that was playing over 300 shows a year. They played every country fair. They played every dive bar. They opened for Kiss, but they never had any traction. And they were basically on the verge of calling it quits.
Okay? Like a road comic,
Right. They were exactly. You're going to equate it to a comic. They were a road comic. Exactly. And, what happens is they had a little bit of success in Japan. So when you would go through Japan, they would ask them, they were signed on Epic label, on the Epic label. That was a subsidiary of CBS Records. Their partner overseas in Asia was Sony. And Sony always would ask for a live recording. So they were going to put out the live album. Like I said, the 70s was the era of the live album. So they said, like, because we had some success in Japan, we'll do the album at the Budokan and part of this Budokan series. And the thing is, like, Rick Nielsen's quote was, when we arrived in coach. When we left in first class, because they went crazy from like the crowd noise throughout the album is not piped in. It is authentic, is real. Like when they came to the airport, there was like 5,000 people came to greet him. The Japanese girls loved them. Like Robin Zander was like the guy. He looked like a rock star. He was every part the rock star. Tom Peterson, who was the bass player, also a good-looking guy. It's no coincidence that they put Robin Zander and Tom Peterson in the front of the album and Bunny Carlos and Rick Nielsen in the back of the album. They did that a couple of times. That was smart marketing. So
the audience wasn't piped in. It wasn't like the Jets last year.
No, it wasn't like the Jets. It wasn't like which will maybe this year. Who knows? But also, I think what makes a great live album, I mean, you guys could disagree with this, but I think what makes a great live album is the versions of the songs. And I think the live versions of these songs, surpass and are much better than the studio version. Like the big hit on this is I Want You to Want Me. I don't know if you've ever heard the studio version because it's never played on the radio. Right? Yeah. It is completely different. Yep. It's a little ditty. It sounds nothing like it. And then it comes alive in the live version. And the funny
that's what you want at a live show. I hate it when you go, to see a live performance and they don't make it a little longer or they don't like jam out a little bit more. That's what you want. That's the point of a live show.
100%.
I Want You to Want Me sounds so much cooler on the live one. Yeah. The studio one has like this kind of like...
It's not the same song.
It's almost very bubblegum pop kind of.
Yeah.
Yep. And the funny thing about it is that wasn't even going to be part of their set list. The thing is they had to stretch it out. And this was the last song that they added on the set list. And this, becomes like the breakout song. In fact, Tom Peterson, he hated the studio version. According to him, he thought the studio version of it was lame.
It does sound a little lame.
Yeah. The other thing about this album is the company, the A&R guy wanted 2 new songs to be on this album. So they added Need Your Love, which wound up going out on Dream Police, and Lookout, which was a new song, but was never released on any other albums, just on this. And they were played on this album. That was the first time they were playing these songs live. And when it first came out, when it first came over, Cheap Trick Live at Budokan was basically an import and was played on college radio stations. Then the record label picked up on it and then said, we got to now release this over here in America. And then maybe 15 years ago, they finally released like the whole the whole actual concept. And it's interesting what they put on the concept, because when Rick Nielsen was walking to the stage, now you got to remember, this is the 70s. He had like a little cassette recorder, so you could hear the banter of them walking up on stage. You could hear all the talking in between songs. That is on the it's called the complete Budokan. But this, what we're talking about here today, and what everyone knows, that's the 10 songs that was streamed down, but no overdubs, 98% live, real crowd noise. And to me, I think it's two of the big time classic 70s live albums.
What's the other one?
Yeah.
Well, the other one I was going to say for the next time, but that would be Frampton Comes Alive.
That's another great one.
Yeah. Who wore the schoolboy uniform better? Nielsen or Angus?
I think Rick Nielsen. I think Rick Nielsen did this. Yeah.
Who wore it first? That's always the debate. Like that's always the debate.
About the same time,
right? What are the odds of that? Like both, like I guess they didn't know, right?
And one was one was Australia, the other one was in Chicago.
Really? You think they were just on stage at the same time doing that, and then everybody was like, "Hey, man, this other guy's doing that too, right?"
you know how Angus got that look, right?
Tell us.
He got the look by he needed something to wear on stage, and his sister designed clothing, and that was the outfit that she came up with. She designed that look.
What's Nielsen's thing? He was just like an old student. Like what's his excuse?
I don't know what the hell his thing. But you remember he was kind of like real. Like look at him in the background of Adam's video. Like he was like goofy. He always had that persona, and that's why you can see he was put in the back of the album. The other thing I think about this is when we talked about drummers and everything. I played the drums. I played throughout high school. I played in bands. I paid for my prom that way. And I practiced to this album. I knew how to play the drum solo in Ain't That a Shame, the lead up to that. I learned from this. And I think Bunny Carlos, like when we talk about great drummers like Neil Peart and John Bonham, they play hard. Peart is definitely one of the most technically great drummers. But Bunny Carlos is all about feel, It's all about much like Charlie Watts and like Ringo Starr. I hate when people say Ringo's a terrible drummer. He's a great drummer. Timing wise, there's maybe none better. But I
call him great. I would say that he works with the unit. He was also blessed with the greatest other members of all time. So it's almost like anybody can sound good with those guys, I think is what it is.
Yeah, but Ringo also, he had a lot of creative fills. He did stuff that people weren't doing at the time.
Yeah, he was all right. He's all right. Just the word great is a little, you can't go from Neil Peart to Ringo is what I'm saying.
They're completely different drummers. They're completely different drummers.
But there's a gap though. There's just a gap in talent in my opinion.
Yeah, but
Neil Peart, it's like Neil Mozart, and you know what I mean. It's like he's a Mozart of freaking drumming. Neil Peart.
Yeah, right. Listen, I love Rush, so I'll never shit on Neil Peart. But when you look at like Neil Peart's setup, he's surrounded by drums.
But that's him though. He put that together.
But when you look at like
smart
Ringo,
enough to figure it all out.
He's playing a 5-piece. It's just it's a basic 5-piece. And same thing with Charlie Watts.
Yeah, but because it's not enough drums for him. That's how good he is. Like he's so good.
I need more drums.
He needs more drums. That's how good he is. It's like, I'm sorry, 5's not enough, bro. I'm just too good for 5. And then they're just like, keep putting drums up. Finally, like, okay. How about a gong? Okay, I need a gong. That's when you're great. They can't give you enough drums.
Tommy Lee took it to a different level. He played upside down. He's like, fuck it. Peart never did this.
A roller coaster.
but a huge piece he's got. I'll tell you that. What? Okay.
But do people like... do you guys like Cheap Trick live at Budokan?
I love Cheap Trick. I was in a band in high school. We were called 17 Days. That's about how long we lasted. And Days with a Z. It was a Z, right?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we were cool. We thought we were cooler than we were, but we had fun. We didn't care. And one of the songs that we learned, we got a big gig. It was a car show. And Surrender was one of our big covers.
Great
song.
Nice.
I played like rhythm guitar, which basically it's the guy that can't play anything and they just give you one chord and you just stand there and look cool. That's basically what I did. But yeah, I love that song. I love particularly. I think it's just it's one of those songs that I never get tired of. I feel it's a song.
I love the Kiss reference in it.
It's just fantastic. Yeah, it's just a fantastic rock song. And then it's kind of edgy, never know what you'll catch. And you're like, what? It's like this whole, so it's like, it's got a lot of things, kind of youth, when you're like 18 or you're growing up or when you hear a song like that, it's like, it kind of, you respond to it well but I like it a lot. I think it's definitely a song I'll always crank up and never turn when it comes on.
Yeah, it did. I don't think it ever aged. I think my favorite song, like long lasting on this, I like the second song. I like Come On, Come On. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great song.
Some of their songs aged, some of those ballady type sons,
The Flame.
Not on this one.
Yeah.
That's not on Budokan though. I hated The Flame.
Ooh. Yeah.
I think Rick Nielsen hated it too. Didn't he smash the tape against the wall when he heard the demo?
I bet that song made him the most money though.
Yeah, they didn't even write it. Didn't the record label give it to them because they needed a hit?
Yeah.
Well, so it was like when Aerosmith. It's like when Aerosmith did the Armageddon song.
Yeah, I think this is one of those bands that probably had the problem of like, it's like Journey or whatever, where it's like they're this amazing band, they have all this talent, but then it's like it's not catching on because people wanted to like the Suits probably got involved, and like you were saying, the record label, and wanting to kind of like make their sound a little more radio friendly, and so probably I think that's what happens to a lot of these bands.
What it is, they were. I've seen Cheap Trick at least a dozen times. I love Cheap Trick, and they are a much, much better band live than they are on record. And Journey was different because they just changed, direction. They were a prog rock band. They were instrumentals.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but they didn't hit until they got the pretty voice. Is what I'm saying.
Exactly. Cheap Trick. For the most part, stayed with their lineup up until the mid 2000s when of all the time, after everything this band goes through, there's a little dispute between Money with Bunny Carlos and the rest of the band, and he winds up leaving. He's replaced by Tom Peterson's son. But when they get inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, unlike Stupid Kiss, they still got together as the original band and
sounded
played
good.
Yeah, they sounded great. Yeah,
they were really good. It's one of the better performances, I think.
Yeah. So again, a great band. But also, if you guys check out the complete version that came out, like I said, about 15 years ago, and it's really, really cool.
Very cool. Any Cheap Trick fans out there in the Twitch land?
Yeah, we got let's see, we got Peck Welly who says this album is my favorite live album of all time.
Nice.
Let's see, we got a Highway Lochim says that is back when being a rock star was at its apex.
Nice.
Yeah, Xander was a rock star.
Yeah.
He was so cool. Would have liked to have had that hair.
He still has it.
Look good. Good guy. You were rocking it.
Anything else, Adam?
Let's see.
Gotta be some Cheap Trick fans out there.
Not in Twitch land, baby. There's 3. And we just got them. We got the only 3. I think one of them's your friend.
Oh, man.
No, but they're great, man. I hope people get into Cheap Trick.
Megan the Stallion live.
It's definitely one of those bands you would miss if you're not like watching a show like this, because you might, people aren't talking about Cheap Trick like they should.
Yeah.
Well, they have a new album coming out this week.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, nobody's talking about them.
I didn't know.
Let's see. It's
yeah, because there's no place. Like, where do you play new music all the time? There's no.
I mean, you run commercials on Spotify. You just that's what you do now. You like.
It's very, very different.
You get showcased on Apple and iTunes and things like that.
I just spoke to Anthony Esposito. He's the bass player in Red Dragon Cartel. That's Jake E. Lee's band. And he made a good point about new music is like, you'll have like some bands put out new music and it's great, but you got to whiff through like a sea of a lot of mediocrity and shit before you can even get to it. So sometimes people just give up and don't get a chance to listen to some of these new bands. So what the record companies used to do in back in the day was filter out like the mediocrity and just put forth the bands that people really should hear.
That's right. And that's why, this is an important show because we're the History Channel of music. And we let people know all the great white bands, and we let them know who they should be listening to.
So their most recent album was In Another World, and it says it was due for release on April 9th. I'm not sure if it's out, though.
No, it's coming out this week.
Okay.
They didn't all get COVID. They're kind of age. So
right. What's interesting is they were supposed to be touring right now with Bush and Stone Temple Pilots.
What?
And that's a really interesting
a fun
lineup.
show.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. I mean, Stone Temple. Who's singing with Stone?
They have some new guy.
He sounds okay.
He sounds fine.
I saw Stone Temple Pilot tribute band in Indianapolis, and they were phenomenal. Like
the dude might have been from a tribute band.
Probably
that's
it might be this guy.
Yeah,
he was great. He was like, he had all the outfits and he had the swag and he sounded good, man.
Did he have the megaphone?
He did. He had the
Nice.
megaphone.
Okay.
He was good,
right.
man.
That's the real deal.
Yeah, he was. But they were good. They were the headliner band, and like it was like all those grunge bands, but all tribute bands, and it was like
That
the first one's not
night.
so good, like it was, but I think Nirvana was the first one.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I just kind of wish, and I know why they didn't do it because they did already, but I wish that Stone Temple Pilots would just start a new band, not call it Stone Temple Pilots, because they did that a couple times in the 90s when Scott Weiland was like in jail and stuff. They started a band called Talk Show.
Yeah.
And they put out an album.
Pretty good.
It was fine.
Well, when it comes to selling tickets and touring, right?
Exactly.
And that's the reason why they
that's
do it.
That's the only reason. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Nobody's going to go see Talk Show, but we'll all go see Stone Temple Pilots.
That's right.
It wasn't as good, but I respected that they tried.
No, I'm with you too. I mean, that's, Foo Fighters, he could have totally just done Nirvana without Kurt, but they did, they didn't do that. So, they could have totally done that.
Yeah, no, you'll also see bands doing now is there'll be like two different versions of a band, like Great White, it's the guitarist version of the band. And then there's the singer, Jack Russell's version of the band. And then there's some bands that basically some nights don't even have any original members on it, but they'll still slap their name on a marquee and you can get like, 1,000, 1,200 people come out. And a lot of times people don't give a shit who's in the band. They just want to hear the songs.
Well, I thought Velvet Revolver was better than what Guns N' Roses was doing live. I thought their music was better than what Guns N' Roses was doing. I mean, I love Velvet Revolver. That's an album, guys. If you're out there and
would you say underrated?
No, I didn't say underrated because it's Slash. I didn't say that. I don't use those words.
Though?
No, I don't think so. I think far as like when you do one or two albums, that's kind of what you get. The bands that really explode are the bands that do like 12 albums. Like the more work you put in, I think the bigger you get. That the Rolling Stones are going to be huge because, I mean, how many albums they have? 20, 25, 30? The Beatles, how many albums they have? It's all about how many albums you put out. It's like if you just cut off at 2, then you're not underrated. You're just, you're understated because you didn't put it out. But that album was phenomenal. So guys, if you're out there, that first Velvet Revolver album is worth like $300-$400. So if you see that in a record store, pick it up. If it's like $25, it's the find we're all looking for. They're very hard to find. They didn't make that many vinyl.
It's a great album.
It's a great album. I love it.
Yeah,
but just to for the vinyl heads, not that there's anybody listening, but just
I didn't know it was worth that much money.
Huh?
You said Velvet Revolver?
Yeah, it was a limited release on vinyl. It was because it was the heyday of CD.
Yeah,
so,
tail end of CDs. Probably.
Yeah, the people weren't pumping them out on vinyl back then because it was like but sort of find an original of that time, original cut. They made very few because people weren't buying them. Records. So
that album could have been good. I feel like if they had a little more time, maybe
it was good. There's like 5 really good songs on it, and then the other 5 or whatever. But like I said, it's a startup album. If they I mean, I like the Slash work where he had all the other singers in. That was good too.
Oh, Slash's Snake
that
Pit,
album, Jeff, where he's had the Slash album.
There's some good stuff on there.
Santana and stuff on it. There's all kinds of.
Yeah, Miles Kennedy, who was
Miles Kennedy has a great voice.
Yeah.
Who's he singing for now? He's just out there.
He played with John 5 for a while. I thought they were starting a new band, and
that's a good combo.
Yeah, that's a really good combo. I don't know. I think you're going to see, listen, that's the only way they're making money in music these days is by going out and touring. So I think you're going to see a lot, we're starting to see it now, but in 2022, everybody is on the road.
Yeah, there's going to be an explosion. The country's, it's going to be like the roaring 20s, after all this shit we had to go through. Now everything's going to open back up. People are going to go out to shows.
Return to normalcy. That was the motto of the 20s.
There's a huge show that you would be into that's coming out with New Order and Morrissey
and Pet Shop Boys.
Pet Shop Boys. There's like this huge tour of all those guys, those wave hit.
Did you catch the ticket prices on that?
No, it's like
ridiculous,
like $500 and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm
That's
paying.
crazy.
For New Order and Pet Shop Boys. Not for that one. I'm going next month to see Guns N' Roses, but I'm really curious to see Mammoth with
nice.
Wolfie's band opening.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot to prove. Hopefully he can, a lot of people shit on him, so maybe he can like step it up.
Kid only played like every instrument and on the album, so
I don't know if he was the best fit for replacing Van Halen. I don't think he wasn't. He had no business. That's what I'm saying. That's
Absolutely
shit
wasn't.
I don't care what he can play. He didn't, he didn't nail that part. So we'll see what he does by himself.
Talk about underrated, Michael Anthony.
Yeah,
he made some money.
Michael Anthony was their secret weapon.
He made some
harmonies.
Exactly, the harmonies.
He's not underrated if he made millions of dollars. Like, why is he underrated?
Okay, maybe I'm using.
He was
the
a
wrong
dick
term.
and drank a lot. That's why he wasn't in the band.
Is that what it was?
It had nothing to do with his playing.
Yeah, well,
it had to do with this thing called Jack Daniels. I don't know if you saw his guitar or his bass. His bass was the Jack Daniels bottle. That says a lot about a guy.
Would you say underappreciated?
By the band. Everybody else loved him. Anybody that grew up with the Van Halen loved him. I don't think we were all sitting there going, Van Halen's great, except this guy.
I loved him in The Circle. He was great in Chickenfoot. You could just always hear him, man.
He's great. That's what I'm saying.
I thought that I thought it was because he kept playing with Sammy Hagar, even when they got David Lee Roth back.
He was drunk. That's what I heard.
Oh. I think Anthony's right. Eddie did not like that.
Yeah, he didn't like whatever.
Because it was Chickenfoot and it was Sammy Hagar's, like he was hanging out in Cabo with him playing and stuff. I thought that was.
I read he was a drinker and they didn't like it. He was a little too drunk. That's what I heard. We'll find out next time. We'll find out the real answer why Michael Anthony got kicked out. And also, sometimes you got to, sometimes it's a father-son business, and you got to employ your son.
Yeah, get the whole family involved.
That's how it works. All right, Adam, you got anything? Any new stuff coming
Bernelli up? Playing tambourine.
She was so hot.
First, let's see. So the lead singer of Stone Temple Pilots right now is Jeff Gutt, and they found him in an online audition.
Wow! Nice.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty cool.
And from the chat room, they're saying that Stephen Wright's going on tour in October.
Whoa! I've never seen him live. I gotta see him.
Open for him.
Yeah, right now he's got he's got a couple. He's got Milwaukee and Madison, Skokie, Illinois, Sarasota, Florida, Stewart, and a bunch of Florida dates.
What kind of rooms is he playing?
Casinos, probably, right?
That's where I saw him.
Well, he's playing the South Milwaukee Performing Arts Center, and then a bunch of theaters.
Yeah, he's a theater guy, man. What are you talking about? He playing the Funny Bone.
I just thought he did casinos. I don't know. Everyone that I know that's seen him in the last 10 years has seen him at a casino.
Yeah, nah, man. That guy's he's huge, man. He's playing big places.
It wasn't like an insult. I just that's what I heard he was doing.
You acted like he's playing
the Grizzly Pack,
Indian casinos in Oklahoma with full people. Now I saw him in casinos, so you're right. I'm just playing with you, but yeah, he's. It was a weird concert because it was it's funny. I hate to say this, but 30 minutes of that kind of one-liner stuff. It's it's a lot, and then he would do the songs. He'd grab the guitar after 30 and kind of do a lot of songs and stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah, he was fun. It was great to see him. I was one of those legends I got to see him. George Carlin.
I'd love to. I would love
George
to see
Carlin
him.
were the two I really wanted to see, and I got to see him.
Nice. I actually, I thought that on his album, probably the weakest moment was when he does the guitar thing.
That's the second one in, though, isn't it? Yeah.
Huh?
That's the second cut in. That's one of the longer ones too.
I don't think it's the second. No, maybe on the B side of the record. It's in the middle.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to it on record. I listened to it online. So that's the order that it came up on it.
Maybe you had it on shuffle because I listened to it today and it wasn't. I also do have that on vinyl. I bought it when I was on tour.
Yeah, because the version I have here is like Winnie was up first, and then Rachel was second, and that and that was like a 4 minute and 51 second bit.
Yeah, Rachel's in the middle
on Spotify. It's coming up as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th track.
That's weird.
Yeah, and Winnie is almost at the end. It's the 12th track.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, in this one, the introduction is in the middle.
Oh.
Wait, is it really?
Yeah. It goes introduction into apartment, and then Jig Stacy.
Weird. Well,
nice.
I don't know.
My favorite is that joke about I was born C-section, so when I leave the house, I go out the window. Very cool. Thank you guys for listening. Adam, do we have anything else coming up? Or any new albums? Or you?
Oh yeah. I'll run through a bunch of them. This one was actually from a few weeks ago. I highly recommend it. Black Midi, Cavalcade. It is if you're looking for something that's it's kind of experimental, it's challenging. It sounds a little bit like early Pink Floyd around Saucerful of Secret with a dash of some late Bowie and some little bit of Radiohead around King of Limbs. It's a great album. It's very exciting. Definitely worth checking out. There's Black Sabbath Sabotage 5 LP box set, remastered version of the original album with a complete live show recorded during the band's 1975 tour.
Nice. That's a good album.
Yeah, that's it's a pretty big one. Sleater Kinney's got a new one, Path of Wellness, their 10th studio album. Nice. And let's see, we got Poison. Look what the cat dragged in, the 35th anniversary edition of that one.
Wow.
And yeah, that was a really good one.
Good, but not great.
Yeah,
underrated, overrated.
It's not underrated.
That Poison.
It's not underrated.
Yeah,
and say that, Anthony.
This past Saturday, June 12th, we had Record Store Day, and the next one I think is July 17th, somewhere around there. So definitely get to your local record store, check it out. They probably still have some of the releases, and always a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, definitely check it out. And next time we'll have some footage from my experiences over at the Hollywood Record Convention in Burbank, California. That was a lot of fun. I got to talk to a lot of guys who've been in the music business for years, and just kind of their love for vinyl records and kind of how they just kind of met so many different people backstage and stuff, and just kind of, all the stuff they had signed. And it was a lot of fun. It was just to be around a bunch of people who had a passion for vinyl records. So thank you guys. Great show today. I love you guys. We'll see you soon. Yeah,
bye, guys.
Keep rocking.
Yeah.
Buy records.
Buy records.
Buy records. Play us out, Anthony. Nice. Sweetness.
Is it over?
I think it's over. I think it's over. All right.
Take care, folks.